Hi there everybody, and welcome back to Wander Freely. It's so nice to have you here. Today we're going to talk about how to plan RV trips. I'm going to be giving you 5 basic steps to use, and they are very, very practical steps that I know will help you on your way to planning your best RV trips yet. The very first step is to really consider your big picture goal. What is your motivation? What is your inspiration? What are you really trying to accomplish with this trip? You have no limitations. It is your trip. You can design it to be whatever you want. So what are those things that you've been waiting to see your whole life, or things that you've wanted to experience? It can be anything. It can be from following your favorite band. It can be going to see a national park. It can be visiting friends or relatives that have moved. It can be anything. There are no limits on this. You have total freedom in your choices here. So make sure you spend some time and really look and think about, what is it that inspires me? What is my motivation here? I know for us it's been different things along the way. One of Chris's lifetime motivations was that he wanted to go surfing in California. And guess what? He did it. You can check that out here. So one of mine it was kind of a smaller goal, but it was that I wanted to check out the Oregon Trail and really experience that route. And we got to do that. So think about the things that really inspire you, that really motivate you, that maybe your top 1 or 2 things for the upcoming trip that you have. What is it that's really motivating you to get out there? What is your big picture goal? Step number 2 is, how will you get there? So what is your general route that you're going to be taking? You're going to know where you're starting, and then you're going to have these specific points of interest that you want to see. So just start with the nearest one and start to look at your general route. Sit down, take a look at a map, and we're actually going to do that together because we're going to talk about the trip that we're planning for this spring. When planning your general route through an area, there are a few things that you will need. A map, you'll probably use your phone or your computer, some paper, a calendar, and a pen or pencil. We start by writing down our main points of interest and specific dates if we have them. Our first big stop that actually has a date is the Indy 500, and I'm just going to check which date it actually is. Next, I'm looking up drive time. We'd like to keep trips to about 4 to 5 hours so that we would only use up 1 tank of gas, and it made the day a lot easier for us. Also, since Chris does work, if he has something that he needs to get out, that allowed him some extra time to do that. Judging from the drive time to Indianapolis, we are definitely going to need a stop in between. I can figure out that stop later, but it'll be somewhere in Ohio. Our next big stop after the Indy 500 is Arches National Park in Utah. The drive time from Indianapolis is about 21 hours, so we will be making a few stops in between them. Our very first will be in the St. Louis area. Since we have been there before, we want to visit something new, and I have had my sights on St. Genevieve for quite some time. It is a historic town, one of the first, if not the first, settlements west of the Mississippi, and it has a big French influence. One of our viewers actually told us about it a few years ago, and I knew that the next time we were in the St. Louis area, I was going to be stopping there. And we're going to just continue picking our stops at about a 4 to 5 hour driving interval. An extra tip here is that it always takes you longer to get somewhere in an RV. With our 5th wheel, we really should not be traveling over 65 miles per hour. Once we have all of our stops chosen, then it is time to add arrival and departure dates. This is important information because this is all that you need when it comes time to book your campgrounds. There are a lot of things to consider when scheduling your dates. We like to think about what we want to see and do in the area. We also need to mix in some extra days to make sure that Chris has time to be able to get caught up on work. Next, I will quickly go through and identify campgrounds that we need to book in advance. Most of these I won't need to book ahead of time, but the Indy 500 definitely would be one that you would want to book in advance. Fortunately, we're going to be staying with friends, so we won't need to. Now that you have your general plan complete, the next 2 steps will help you to refine it. Number 3 is, what is your trip budget? I know you don't really want to hear that, but it's important just the same. And I'm going to tell you that the easiest way to try to sort through the variations that could be your costs on the road, because I know for most of us it's new, or even if you're going to, even if you've been an RVer for a while but you're going to a new area, you just don't know what those costs are going to be like. My advice to anybody who's trying to figure out how to budget for living on the road is to figure out what the sweet spot is that you need your campground cost to come in at per night. Okay, and I wrote an entire post on this. I'm going to link it up here so that you can check it out in more detail. Chris and I figured out ours, and it ended up being $30 a night. So that meant if we booked a campground that was $35 a night, then depending on how many nights we stayed there, then we had to, next campground that we wanted to book had to be under. It had to be $25 or less per night. Or we'd throw in a stay at a Walmart to kind of recoup those costs. But we were trying to average out at $30 a night. Once you find that key number for you, that specific number, and like I said, you can do that just by checking out our worksheet up here. It's easy to do, and it's free. It's just, you just go there and fill out the information. You'll be able to figure out your target number per night, and that will help you to set your budget. Number 4 is, how much time do you really have for this trip? If you're a full-time RVer like we were for 3 years, it was no problem. We could take our time. We could do things how we wanted to do them. And if we ended up staying somewhere long, no problem. We can make it up at the next place. We can push everything back. That wasn't really a big deal. We did not book campgrounds far in advance to allow us some of that freedom. But if you're going for, say, a weekend or a 2-week or 1-week trip, yeah, you're going to want to have more of a structured plan for your trip so that you can make sure that you see everything that you want to see. Obviously, you're going to want to relax some too. That's part of a vacation if it's your vacation time. So consider the time to make sure that you're getting to each stop as you need to, so that you can follow through with all your motivation and your desires, the things that you want to see, and that you can accomplish those in your trip. Step 5 is book your campgrounds. This is a little bit difficult because, like I said, we do not like to book far in advance. But if there are certain things like national parks, 4th of July weekend, any holiday weekend, always just like, we were like stopped in our tracks while we were full-time traveling, because we would totally forget. We'd lose track of time, and then all of a sudden Memorial Day weekend would come up and all the campgrounds are booked, and you're like, wait a minute, where are we gonna go? It is something to think about. If you know that you're gonna be in a high volume time, consider booking ahead, but otherwise leave yourself some freedom so you can get from one place to the next. And if you change and you decide, if you're going on a month-long trip, you might want to change things up a little bit in your plan and spend a little extra time here, or go visit something that you just learned about this week that now you want to go see next week. Decide how many of those campgrounds you need to book in advance and how many can wait, and you can go with the flow a little bit more. You can check out our video on how to book campgrounds right here. And voila, you have made it to the end of the steps. You now have all 5 steps to get you ready for planning your next RV trip. So we wish you many happy travels to come. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget that in our RV planner, we have trip itinerary sheets in the back in order to help you to plan your trip and keep your budget. Also, they allow you to track whether or not you left a deposit when you made a campground booking. That way, then when you get to the campground, you'll be assured of what is left on your balance. And one final tip, if you aren't sure where to make some stops on your route, check out some different resources to help you and start keeping a list so that you have them for future reference.